Hello, hello. Happy Monday. I hope you are doing well, that this Monday is treating you well, that we're like starting off the week in mid-October on a high note. We are eating lots of apple crisp around here because turns out I am like a wee bit obsessed with apple picking and all things apples, and I blame it on growing up in New England, or I like hark it back to growing up in New England and absolutely love it. And we had like the coolest apple picking experience a couple weekends ago with my kiddos and picked 9 different varieties or something. Okay, I go off on a tangent. But that's a story. I'm telling you a story about what's going on in my life. And I bring that up because today I wanted an opportunity to sort of jump in and talk with you about storytelling with data. It is a growing phrase that keeps showing up in different places. And I am all about storytelling with data because we tell stories. We tell stories about our lives. We tell stories about things that happen to us or things that we want to happen, or stories about places far away or things we don't really understand. And we use stories as a way to connect with each other. We have been doing this for millennia, and it's showing up all over the place. I mean, legit, the name of one of the textbooks that I use with my undergrads when I'm teaching about data visualization and science communication is literally storytelling with data. And like, shout out to Cole. Cole is awesome for all that she and her team are doing around storytelling with data. What I want to talk about is this incredible reality or opportunity that we have in the K-12 space about engaging our students in storytelling with their data, and especially on this push and pull of, are we exploring or are we explaining? And where are we on this spectrum of making sense of our data and communicating what we're finding out from our data? So very typically, storytelling with data often comes into play. And when I talk about it with my undergrads, it's we've already looked at the data. We've already asked our questions. We've already explored it. We already know what is there that we want to tell from the data. So we, in essence, are explaining with our data. We are using the story and the visuals that are part of our story to communicate what that story is that we already know and we want to tell, what we want our audience to hear. Now, this is really important when we get to the end, after we've looked through our data and we've explored it, we've gone to the infer meaning part of working with our data, and we're ready to be like, ta-da, and like, this is what we have found. This is our conclusion. This is our claim. And not only just, wah, 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 this is our claim, but like, oh, I'm going to explain a story. I'm going to integrate these evidence pieces. Okay, here we go, CER. Like, what pieces from the data set am I using that wrap up and indicate or point towards this claim that I am making with the data? That is once I've already done all of that. But Jennifer Fraser, in a phenomenal blog post last month, and I'll show you in just a second. Oh, actually, I can show you right now. Let me just pull it up, and then you all can see in real time. Wrote this great blog post about storytelling with data, specifically around exploring the data and exploratory visualizations. Now, the examples Jennifer gives relate to museum centers and things like that. So those informal settings and how do you set up exhibits. But I still think it is really worth thinking about how we can use all of this research-backed understanding on how to create spaces for our students and our learners to explore the data in our classrooms. So I totally understand this is a difference. I am not crazy. I am not Pollyanna. I understand that you do not have millions of dollars to build this like super interactive exhibit inside your classroom, but we can take the takeaways and think about how that relates to our classroom. Like takeaway number 1, provide a space for exploration in our day, in our lessons, in our week. When are we giving kids the space just to explore and have those opportunities to do a bit more open-ended inquiry around the data? This is not a like huge, ginormous open inquiry project. These are just moments in time that we can do where we can create space and time for it. We can use familiar objects, actions, or representations as we are inviting our students in to those exploration pieces, we can absolutely and should structure the interaction. This is what we talk a lot in our muck about strategy that we wrote up. Oh, that's coming soon in the January, February Science Scope article. Like mucking about, how can we structure that open-endedness, that exploration to help our students with that? And then finally, sort of create opportunities to foster that social interaction around the data. Again, we're not saying we need like a week-long unit, but in any 10 minutes chunk of our time, we're already having them look at data. We're already asking them to make sense of it. Can we carve out some space and time where they just get to explore it? They get to ask their own questions. They get to use their own knowledge and meaning making from the data to engage with what is going on, to think about it. And then there's some great opportunities to tell stories about the exploration, things that come out as they're exploring. Is it a like neat, pretty tied with a bow story? No, but is it a reality in the dirt, on the ground, how things actually work with data? Oh, you betcha. Yeah, because that is what working with data is. It is messy, it is circuitous, we go around in circles and different things like that, but it also can be really powerful to create those opportunities for our learners to engage them in this telling their own stories, not just a story that you want them to get out of the data, but creating an opportunity where they can tell a story they want to out of the data, that they can make their own way through that data set with their questions, their knowledge, and their values. And I think Jennifer just captured this really well. And I wanted to share it out as they're like, okay, so these can be some benchmarks. The next time we're working with a data set, or the next time you're working with a data set with your students, can you give 5-10 minutes for them to do a little bit more exploration with the data? Can you give 5-10 minutes for them just to play around? Can you reframe your worksheet so that they get an opportunity to tell their own story from the data and tell the story that you're hoping that they will get out of the data as it relates to your content? Because I get it. We in science and social studies, we are using data for a purpose. We are trying to teach our content knowledge, and 100% we should continue to be supporting that. And if we are always presenting our students with data with the sort of air or the structure that there is one story that they are coming out with, there is one correct claim out of the data set, then we are actually doing a disservice to our students, because we are training them that there's only one story you can tell, when in fact there are many, many stories that we can tell from our data. And helping our students sort of gain that comfort, gain that confidence in small chunks of time along the way will have huge ripple effects in terms of their working with data, analyzing, interpreting data, making sense of those database questions on our state tests, workforce readiness, upper level science, social studies, and even their math classes in terms of how they do in that, and just broad general knowledge of understanding how people work with data, and therefore what goes in to making a claim from data, so that when they see things across their social media feeds, they have this moment of a, oh, wait, okay, okay, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Let me explore that a little bit. Let me ask some questions from that healthy skepticism that we are trying to do. We are going to be talking more about this, sort of how do we get kids like iterating, exploring, playing with their data as it relates to data visualizations on November 6th at our next free data strategy share out. Please come join us. Would love to see you there. I'll put the link for Jennifer Frazier's article from last month about exploratory visualizations. It's a great read. And I'll put a link for the November 6th so you can register and join us for that free data strategy share out. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope to see you on the 6th, and I hope that the week just goes up from here, wherever